In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here at the sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. That's always spelled with a K. 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast. That would be the Bill Mill, the Capitol building at 10th and L Streets downtown, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense. It is a literal death knell. You can hear it. And then when I leave the studio at about 10:30 at night and I open that door, in will waft the noxious, terrible vapors of sulfur and brimstone that emanate from that terrible edifice downtown, the Capitol building in Sacramento, California, always spelled with a K. Very important to remember that. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. It is Tuesday, October the 15th, the year of our Lord 2019. And Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to, let's see, my right, your left. Which means get into the chat room right now, boys and girls. I'm telling you, shrmedia.com. I also have to say, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze, she is not. All we ask is one simple damn thing. Please flush the toilet. Please jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, if you have any socks, you might as well take them off right now because they're about to be blown off. So my important safety tip to you tonight is socks, remove them. They're going to be gone at the end of the first hour. Guaranteed. Because for the first hour, we've got KURT SCHLICHTER. And tonight, I definitely have to welcome KURT SCHLICHTER back to the saloon. He may not realize this. This is the 5th time that he's been kind enough to be here, and so I obviously thank him for that. Now, KURT is an author. He's a veteran, a retired U.S. Army colonel, a commentator's boon. He's been everywhere between CNN, Fox News, Fox Business News, The Blaze, Newsmax, the One American News Network, and he's been a radio host and frequently guest hosts and takes the place of Hugh Hewitt. People thought that no one could take the place of Hugh Hewitt, but that's wrong. That's patently wrong. KURT does it. He's also a senior columnist at townhall.com, and he's written for and been published by the New York Post, Washington Examiner, Boston Globe, Los Angeles Times, Washington Times, San Francisco Examiner, Army Times, and a whole bunch of others. KURT is also an attorney here in the United States of America. He is also the creator of the hashtag Caring, because he does. He's the author of 9 books now, and he was in the saloon last time to talk about his nonfiction book, Militant Normals, and also his fiction book, Wildfire, which is 3rd in the Kelly Turnbull series. Now, if you're looking for the Kelly Turnbull series, and I have bought and read every damn one of them, and I only have authors on the show that I read, not people that I purport to read. So the books in the Kelly Turnbull series, and we'll ask KURT what they are about, include People's Republic, Quick Like a Bunny, Go Out and Get It, Indian Country, Go Out and Get It, Wildfire, and let's not forget his coming novel, the likes of which we'll be talking tonight. Now, he has a bunch of nonfiction books, too, including the one I mentioned, Militant Normals, I Am a Liberal, I Am a Conservative, Conservative Insurgency. No, don't be confused. Folks, don't be confused. He's a conservative, okay? He's not confused. Fetch My Latte, which is one of my favorite titles. 50 Shades of Liberal. KURT is a retired U.S. colonel, U.S. Army colonel. He's a veteran of Operation Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom in Kosovo, and he took his master's in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. This is going to be a very important, salient point just a little bit later. And he took his J.D. from the Loyola Law School. KURT, welcome to the show, and thank you for being back tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been a grand time each and every time. My guess would be you didn't realize that you've been on 5 times now.
You know, you said that, and I was like, I know I've been on a few times. I hadn't kept count. But I do forget something. Am I allowed to swear?
Oh, this is not FCC-controlled airwaves. So that
Hell yeah!
So that's why I said it may be something similar to a free-for-all tonight. Here's the question I've wanted to ask you on prior occasions, and I don't know why I never did, but it's about your work as an attorney. What's your practice, and in what kind of area do you specialize?
I'm a civil litigator. I defend and bring lawsuits.
Okay. All right.
Simple.
That's very simple. To the bone.
When Ben Shapiro got sued by Clockboy, I was his lawyer. I defended him, and we won.
Okay. All right. That was one of my questions later on, but since you hit it, can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, not attorney-client stuff, but there's a lot of stuff.
No, but Clockboy, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Clockboy is the kid in some school somewhere, I don't remember where, built
I think it was Irving, Texas.
Okay. Built a clock that some people thought was some kind of an IED or something like that?
Only people who looked at it. I mean, you look at the thing and you're thinking, yeah, that doesn't look like a clock. That looks like something could be dangerous. I mean, it's not as if people have had problems with people trying to hurt kids in schools.
Right, that's never happened.
Look, who's the guy going, we really need to give benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
you can be too careful.
Oh, God.
So he does this thing, and people see it and freak out, and he denies it, and the cops are involved, and they don't charge him, but, his dad starts hyping it up, and, the president gets in, and everyone's like, oh, he's oppressed.
Right.
Because, again, our educational system, our teachers and school administrators were too darn careful about, mass murder at a school. Because, when in doubt, roll the dice, right?
Sure.
Ben gets on Megyn Kelly and says, look, I think this is just a big hoax. And he gets sued. And Glenn Beck got sued, Jim Hansen, some other folks got sued. They sued a whole bunch of people. And it was just a terrible lawsuit. And it was, clearly, we got this thing called the First Amendment, which a lot of our liberal friends are unfamiliar with. But it allows you to, offer your opinions even if other people don't like them.
Imagine that.
And there's a lot of misunderstanding about what defamation is anyway. And I think I had probably the biggest defamation verdict in the country one year. I got a $3,049,912 verdict.
Nice.
For somebody who happened to be one of my good friends.
Better
and
yet.
a fellow military guy. But I know a little about this stuff. It's a very hard thing to prove, and it should be. You shouldn't be able to sue people easily, but there are times you can. You can't when they're just giving their opinion. And we use what's called an anti-SLAPP motion, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. Basically, when people try and shut you up, there's a special kind of motion that allows you to do a lot of things very early in litigation to cut it off, and you get your fees. And the bottom line is we got awarded about $70,000 in fees after winning the case.
What I also understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the case essentially was dismissed But
no, we won it. We got judgment. It wasn't dismissed. We got judgment.
But it was also, didn't they appeal, and wasn't it upheld on appeal?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember if I think some other folks appealed for some reason, or was it us?
Okay, I was just looking at your.
I really don't remember if we were still in it because at some point it got resolved.
Okay, all right.
And,
bigly. The operative word is it got resolved bigly.
Yeah, I know we did write our appeal, but I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. It was a while.
KURT Schlichter, you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to tell everybody about any of your websites that you want to mention or your social media because...
social media? What's that?
Yeah, I know. As anybody who's been there to at KURT Schlichter can see, you are I don't know. I guess you could say you're sort of a Twitter activist. And the only thing that I ask
Twitter, I find people, first of all, I find it annoying when people, Twitter's a dump. Twitter is a miracle. It allows you to talk to, for me, I got 200,000 plus followers. I can talk to 200,000 people. I got to be pithy. I got to keep it under, 180 characters.
Right.
But that's okay. And to me, it's like Sudoku. Can I be funny or insightful or interesting in this little thing? Let's say, and entertain, because I was stand-up at one time. And I still like it. And I just love the interaction, and I use it differently than other people. I interact with people, and people go, "Oh my gosh, KURT Schlichter retweeted me." I'm like, "That's no big deal. What am I supposed to do? That's what I do." And also, it's really pathetic that you care what I do.
By the way, I should correct you because I'm looking at your Twitter feed right now, and you only have 202,300 followers right now. But, who gives, give or take, or a couple of thousand, basically. Anyway, Twitter loves you, and you love Twitter. So, folks, you want to find out where KURT is, at KURT Schlichter, like that. And you write, specifically, where do you write these days, sir?
Oh, I write at Town Hall, Monday and Thursday. And you may see more of me at Town Hall.
Okay.
I've got 2 columns a week, and I have kind of a interesting. I think it's interesting. I have a different take than other people. Here's the weird thing about it. Let's talk about KURT. Imagine a trial lawyer likes talking about it.
No, I didn't see that coming.
I know, right? I'm a little different than a lot of other commentators for a number of reasons. For one thing, I'm older. I'm 54. So I've actually done stuff, and the things I've done are a little different. I've been a lawyer. I've had a business, and I can do that stuff. I've also been military, 27 years. I'm a graduate of the War College. I deployed to Desert Storm. I deployed to Kosovo after 9/11. I was in the L.A. riots and the L.A. earthquakes and the San Diego fires. So I've actually done a lot of interesting things that allow me to talk about stuff, and I was a stand-up comic. I'm funny, objectively. My wife's sitting over there going, "No, just stop now. Just be quiet."
Yeah, while you're ahead.
But how many? I mean, and I've done politics for like 30-some years. How many? I don't, and I don't live in D.C. So I got all this weird stuff that gives me this perspective. So you can read my Town Hall stuff, and it reads like, first of all, it reads like stand-up, because everything is set up, punch, or tag.
Yeah, you're
And if
right.
you read it, it looks like a stand-up. It reads like a stand-up routine. There's no fat in it. Every line hits, which comes both from stand-up and law, and from the Army, because you breed 19-year-olds, and they don't want to hear a bunch of bullshit. They want go up to the top of the hill, kill everybody. When you're done, I'll tell you where to go next. Oh, okay, Roger. Just real, So I've got this weird. My style is completely different than other people's, and then I like to play language games. I like to construct funny sentences. I create words. I'll get my editors will call me and go, "Is this a mistake, or did you invent another word?"
Yeah. Hey, what's a Fredo Con?
Exactly.
The first time you came out with that, my guess would be, wait, is that Frito-Con? Does he mean freedom? Is it a free conservative? Does he mean what does that mean? And I'm sure you got the email later. Is Kurt, tell us what a Frito-Con? Fredo-Con? What is that?
Yeah, and I never explain I never use the joke chalkboard. I just assume that people are going to figure out what I'm saying.
You get it. Yeah, you get it or you don't. One of my it's tremendous fun for me. I enjoy it. Everybody, everybody got, I like sports. I build ships and bottles. Me, I like to write stuff that's interesting. And the thing is, I can, I'll write these whole jokey things, and then the president will get up and use my Normandy line. What was that? I apparently missed that one.
Okay, you didn't see the Normandy line after the invasion of northern Iraq when he got out and said the Kurds weren't with us in Normandy?
Jesus.
I was simply, pointing out that the Kurds were not a traditional, although they're good people, I support them, they're not a traditional ally. A traditional ally, you get attacked, we come. We get attacked, you come. Britain's an ally. Turkey, in fact, is an ally. The Kurds, the northern Syrian Kurds, are not an ally. We had a common enemy. Not run down the Kurds again, as I said. But the president gets up, he says, well, and I write in a column, he gets up and says there was this very, very powerful column where the guy pointed out the Kurds were not with us at Normandy, and everybody fucking freaks out. I get this.
But it's a good line.
To its producer. It's a great line. I actually said Normandy, Incheon, Quezon, and Kandahar, which is happening now. That's not an ally. So when you say you're an ally, you're not using the correct word. I'm not running down the Kurds, like the Kurds, but they are not an ally, because if you were an ally, you would have a reasonable expectation that we might fight any given enemy. In this case, what reasonable person would ever expect that we would fight Turkey that is an actual ally? And you know that because the Senate ratified a treaty making them an ally, which is the only way Americans should undertake obligations to other nations. And everyone, he just said because they weren't at Normandy, we should have abandoned them. Here's the point over here, and here's B way over there.
Yeah, typical millennial or Gen Zer. What's NATO?
Well, look, there's a comment. I think I just wrote the column. Are they stupid or are they lying? That is my column for Thursday. Liberals are bad at gaslighting.
Well, I am hopefully going to try to get to the point where I reference your article from yesterday where it says the elite hates the Trump doctrine because it puts America first. And I really hope we get there because, boy, Let's
do it. Here we are.
I really want to ask you about Syria and all that stuff. But I read your book, Wildfire. I purchased all your stuff. I have it. I don't just say that I read your stuff. I
hope you like it.
And I purchase your stuff.
Was it fun?
But, oh, God, I love the hell out of it.
The idea is always, I got to tell you, the only thing more, hopefully reading it is as much fun as writing it.
That's why I
have a blast writing it.
I may have asked you this before. I don't remember. My guess would be writing a column is like a venting. Writing a book is like a venting. Is that kind of what it is for you?
There's a little of that, but again, I just enjoy crafting. It's like somebody works wood. My wood's words. I love a great sentence.
A word smithy.
I love to put. It's like a puzzle. How can I do this so that I can make this? It's funny, it's clever, it's interesting. I'll give you a preview out of Collapse, which is the next book, and I'm on almost 83,000 words into it. It'll be about 90,000.
Wow.
This chapter to finish, which I'll finish tonight. I got 3 more chapters. They're in San Francisco. They go by, and I just thought of it today, and I hadn't planned it, but I'm like, oh, well, they'll probably go by a mission, like a mission where, you're from California, where
right.
the Jesuits were, and they, taught the Indians Christianity and whatever. Well, the blue state, liberal types would hate that. So they'd probably tear it down. But the people would still cry about it. You know, the social justice warriors would cry about that even torn down, it's hurting them. So they would dig a hole to get rid of the dirt. So all memory of it was erased. So there's this scene where they're driving by this big hole, and a guy from there goes, "Oh, well, that used to be Mission Dolores." They were so oppressed by it, you know, and it was so triggering, they actually dug a hole so that not even the dirt was there to cause them pain. And, you know, we giggle about that, but I wrote stuff, you know, that I thought was crazy in People's Republic and stuff. It starts coming true.
That's the thing about your Kelly Turnbull book series. Like I said, I went back to look at Wildfire today. And I read the end of that, and I did not know, it talks about you as an author. I did not know that you were personally recruited by Andy Breitbart. That's a massive compliment, in my opinion.
Well, because he, you know, everybody's like, well, I was a friend of Andrew Breitbart. Everyone was who was around. He was a great guy. I wasn't special. I got hooked up with him by a friend from law school who said, well, who was liberal. I was like, you need to know this guy's conservative. And we originally talked on Facebook, back when that was a thing,
right,
about Mexican food and 80s music. And I knew he was writing Big Hollywood. I saw this Star Trek movie was going to be premiered there in Kuwait. And I thought, well, if they're doing Big Hollywood, they'll certainly want to reinforce when Hollywood does something good, right? So I say, hey, Andrew, you know, they're opening this thing in Kuwait for our troops. You know, our guys over at Al Adid or whatever our base it is. You should get somebody to write it up. He goes, you write it up. I'd written for a long time, but I hadn't written conservative stuff or whatever. I write it up, send it in. He runs it and sends me an author's, you know, here's how you sign into the site. Here's how you upload. And I was trapped.
In a good way.
Yeah, and that's how I stayed at Breitbart until a little after he died. Had a run-in with Steve Bannon. And I said, blank you. And I went over to IJ, which was a thing at the time. And then I got recruited at Town Hall, and I went Town Hall exclusive.
There was an author's note at the end of Wildfire, your most recent book. And to me, what you wrote here summarized all your Turnbull books. You wrote back in November of 2018. You said, naturally, most of this is fiction, except the parts that are coming true. Don't let any of it come true. That's the whole gig about your Kelly Turnbull series, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you take a look at People's Republic, the first one, and I'm writing about them walking through, you know, California after the blue states have, you know, been in charge. You know, country splits in half 10 years before. What do the blue states look like? And I take a red state, you know, military guy in, and he's kind of our tour guide. And I talk about, well, you know, here's an abandoned church. It's not abandoned; it's turned into like a homeless shelter. And the cross is saw down. And the reason is, well, they all had to leave because they took the tax exemption away and the churches went bankrupt. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's pretty horrible. And then I get freaking that furry Beto says that like 4 days ago.
There it is. There it is. Everything that you are writing. And that's the sad damn thing. The stuff you're writing right now is proven not long to be correct. And your most recent stuff, and I'm going to go through California stuff too, that's also turning out to be correct as well.
It's really, you know, I try to think, well, how ridiculous can it be? Like digging up a mission because, you know, just the mere sight of the dirt it once stood on is so triggering.
Oh, give it time.
Mark my words.
Give it time. I always wanted to ask you, KURT Schlichter, I also wanted to ask you this question as well. I bet that in your travels all over the place, I bet you've had people come up to you and say, KURT, you're full of crap. None of this stuff is ever going to happen. And then they come back to you a little bit later and have to eat crow.
I haven't anybody that dramatic, but if you said I thought it was kind of crazy and then it started happening, you know, it happens occasionally. I'll hear from people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not happy about it. It's just, it's kind of sick that my mind can figure out like what these lunatics are going to do next.
Well, all of that comes back to, hey, look where we are. I'm in Sacramento. You're down in Southern California. We see the worst of the worst. Yay, us. In your last Kelly Turnbull book, Wildfire, we saw Turnbull working with some really unusual kind of allies. Some of the folks in the blue. I'm not going to Bigfoot the ending. Folks, you just got to go out and read Wildfire. But let's just say that things kind of end up not real good. They're kind of bad. I told you just before we got on the air that I was going to talk about your next book, Crisis, except you renamed it. It's called Collapse.
Yeah, I was going to write about how the country splits up because I think that's an interesting story. But that for some reason, what really caught me is how the blue states finally do fall apart. What's it going? Because here's my theory. You look at Venezuela and see how bad it is. I mean, They're literally eating the zoo animals. And California just keeps getting worse and worse. And you and I were here when it was a golden state. Now it's the brown with little hunks of undigested peanut state. And we know there's no bottom. The California cannot be so bad that the leftists in power will say we were wrong.
Oh, God, that ain't never going to happen. Ever.
No. Something has to happen that changes things.
It's got a tank.
But there's no bottom that will make them rethink. There has to be an event that changes things. That's my contention, and I'm writing about that event in this next novel.
Okay.
And it's not pretty. There's some dark stuff in this.
Well, the cool thing about that is that you got
funny stuff too.
You get to pull that from your brain, basing it on what you see in Sacramento, I cannot go a yard without seeing some homeless person all over the place. Yeah. I cannot go in downtown Sacramento without seeing about every other block a steaming heap of human poo in Sacramento already. So there's your fodder for Collapse. Do you think that you're going to continue the fictional world of Kelly Turnbull after Collapse?
Oh, yeah, I'll go back and I'll do Crisis. I'll do How It Fell Apart, and there's some adventures in there. I might go in a different direction and take different characters in the same universe and do stuff. I still have a lot to say about where the country's going.
Well, see that,
and this is a fun way to say it. It is. I want to write airplane books. A book that you would pick up on a flight and you would just read the thing, and then you're in Chicago.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do you see?
And I like that. I mean, when people tell me they're fun, I've done my job. I've got a point to make. But it was Andrew Breitbart. He said, be good first.
But they all have to have a measure of readability, because how many times? What the hell is it? Okay, we got about 2 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. How many times, KURT SCHLICHTER, have you picked up a book, a hardback or a paperback, you've turned it over and looked at the inside cover and you go, yeah, that premise sounds pretty good. And look at the back, hey, that sounds like an interesting premise. And then flip. Page 1, the author doesn't know how to write and is a piece of crap. I'm sticking up my hand right now saying a ton of times.
Yeah, I got through one page of The Firm, John Grisham.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like it. I read it. I was like, nope. There are popular authors out there, some of whom I know, that I just hate their work.
They have to be readable. You have to be readable to sell books. You have to be readable. And I believe that your books are eminently readable in every fashion. Entertaining,
I appreciate it.
Readable, and insightful in a way that the rest of the nation, if they don't live on the coasts, they don't get it. Because they don't see literally the crap that we see every day, at least at the left coast on California. Let's see, can I fit? Yeah, I can fit one more question in before the break. Do you see another nonfiction book emerging?
I see one by February when I have a deadline.
Okay.
I've already signed a contract for one.
Okay.
I will have it by February.
Very nice.
I write fast.
Apparently so. Dare I ask the title, or shall we wait?
Well, let's wait on it.
Okay.
Because who knows? It may change. I gave out prices and I changed it when I thought of something better.
Okay, folks, we are talking to KURT SCHLICHTER. He's going to be here for another half hour. We're going to take a break, come right back. You were listening to me. It is I, the bloviating Zeppelin, speaking with KURT SCHLICHTER, one each. And you are in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and it's a radio show, by the way, if you haven't sussed that out. And we'll be right back in about 4 or 5, right around in there. Hello.
Okay.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with Double the Hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, by way of the magic of the internet. Yes, it's literal digital magic. Ones and zeros flowing through your ossicles right now. As you listen to my show, I'm the Bloviating Zeppelin. This is the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show from the SHR Media Network studios. It's an actual studio. It's not my attic. It's not my basement. We actually have a bathroom and a studio and a board and all that official-looking good stuff. Tonight we are talking to KURT SCHLICHTER. He is kind enough to be here. And I think we've kind of torn up the books for a while. His book. Oh, I forgot to ask one thing, though. KURT SCHLICHTER, when do you suppose your newest fiction book, Collapse, with your protagonist Kelly Turnbull, is going to come out?
My guess is mid-November.
Oh, perfectamundo. That is like...
I just wrote about 100 words during the break.
That's perfect. That's like right next door. I can see the publication of your book right from here. I can see it.
Exactly. It's coming.
It is.
It's coming. You can see the headlight.
I do. It's in the tunnel right now. KURT SCHLICHTER, if you don't mind, can we pull out our mutual chainsaws and get into politics?
Anything you want to do, anywhere you want to go.
Okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can recap. We had the Mueller investigation. That's toast. We had Russia. That's gone. We had racist. Didn't stick. We had recession. That was crap.
All these things with R's.
And CNN, we find out, of course, is in the tank against Trump from the Veritas video that just came out. And they may as well change their name to, I came up with a new name. Instead of CNN, it's TIC, which is the impeachment channel. So it's logical for me to conclude that it essentially is a soft coup. But the Democrats have set a dangerous precedent that may haunt a whole bunch of people. So from now until November of 2020, we're going to hear nothing about impeachment. And if Trump wins a second term, we're going to hear nothing but impeachment, except with this major bang that just occurred today. I don't know if you heard this or not. My guess is you have. But this just in, San Fran Nancy Pelosi says that the House is not going to hold an impeachment vote, quote, at this time. My translation for that is, we don't have the votes. Any thought?
I think that is exactly what it means. There are members saying, I do not want to go on record with this festival of onanism presided over by, self-loving ringman Adam Schiff.
I just typed to the people in chat, okay, onanism, look it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't Google it if I were... No, look, the thing is, I'm a lawyer, and my mom's advice to me after she was a lawyer for a long time before I was, is everybody lies. That was her advice to me when I first became a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm kind of immune from the fact that people are just full of it and hypocritical and lying, and it's still I just kind of find it kind of amusing that people go, these people are inconsistent. They're dishonest. They're simply saying things that aren't true.
No.
That none of what they say makes sense.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, that's it's. I mean, good that you notice. That means you're a good person. But it's all a lie and a scam. And if you and it saves you so much time if you just understand. So you get Adam Schiff coming out there explaining why he doesn't have to give due process to the president. And instead of wasting valuable time being scandalized, I just understand that my enemy's whole language is power, and that better be my language too.
It's funny you should say that, because in the process of doing show prep for tonight, I went back and looked at your Twitter feed. You had a really, really, really good paragraph that I want to quote folks here. And you wrote, remember, when the rules only apply to you, there actually are no rules, and you are under no moral obligation to pretend there are. Instead, you are justified in using whatever means you feel necessary to preserve your rights and freedom.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, what annoys me is not people who say, "Why, this is morally wrong." People should be consistent and honest and reasonable and use facts and evidence within the context of agreed upon fair procedures. When the other side doesn't, and you still do, you are weak and stupid.
And they have every means and manner of power behind them that most conservatives do not, and yet they still manage to tank themselves and in generally. So, Kurt,
bad people tend to do. Being bad is not always a great strategy, because bad people tend to make errors. It's just because they're bad people, and their bad habits create disloyalty, create chaos, create inefficiencies. And it doesn't always happen. The Mongols were arguably very bad. I mean, they did kill 80 million people. But the habits that they had led to them in about 2 generations from Genghis Khan going from having most of the known world to nothing. Well, not nothing, but almost nothing comparatively. Bad people tend to have problems. And that's what's happening with the Nancy Pelosi people. When you lie, you get caught in your lies. When you're corrupt, you get caught in your corruption. Look at Hunter Biden.
Look at Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, they managed to get a situation where they have managed to work themselves in a situation where they're the people they're trying to get are not the bad people who are liberal. The I don't care. You have no rights. You're screw you. I want to murder you all kind of leftist. They're trying to get the people in the middle, and most people in the middle kind of look at it and go, so let me get this straight. You want me to be upset at Trump for allegedly asking Ukraine to investigate why a dope huffing, brother widow marrying loser who left his crack pipe in a rent-a-car right after he got booted out of the Navy for doing blow, and he doesn't speak Ukrainian, he knows nothing about gas, yet he gets $50,000 a month from a Ukrainian oligarch. Oh, by the way, his dad's the vice president. You want me to be mad at Trump for pointing that out?
Right, when we in fact...
And it just doesn't work.
Right. That's why I love the Internet. The Internet seems to never forget. We have this, too.
Others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th
This is glorious. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is Joe Biden on video that no one seems to consider, and you talk about an actual quid pro quo. This is it, folks, on video.
Well, look, they're yelling, well, how dare they, a president, use a foreign government to dig up dirt on a political opponent. I'm like, have you never heard of the Steele dossier? I mean, it's... And now I understand why they're doing it. But normal people just can't process that. It doesn't work. And they get offended and annoyed. And you can only be hypocritical for so long before people start jeering and throwing rotten fruit at you. And look, if it was working, if this was a success, Nancy Pelosi would be having an impeachment vote.
Oh, Oh, she would have had a vote a month ago. Al, what was that dude's name from Texas?
She thought she could get it.
Oh.
She'd have done it, thrown it over to the Senate. But in the Senate, they're going to be humiliated too, because until they find 19 senators to join Mitt Romney and the Democrats to vote out Trump.
True.
They are screwed. They lose. Look, what's the thing? If you're going to try and kill the king, you better kill him.
Yeah, don't miss.
Don't miss.
The thing about being bad, that reminded me of Hurricane Katrina, and there was this dude, this lieutenant general named Russell Honore. And he said to a reporter, don't get stuck on stupid. The Democrats are stuck on stupid. And I submit, KURT Schlichter, that they lack the ability to stop digging.
They maneuver themselves into a position where they have to take positions that damage themselves to stabilize the positions they just took yesterday. They are they're trading. They're essentially eating next year's seed corn, credibility wise. I mean, you look at Adam Schiff.
Nice analogy.
And he keeps digging into any goodwill he has by promising everything and delivering nothing again and again and again, and eventually it becomes exhausting. And someone's going to look at him and go, "Can't you do anything right?" And he's going to go, "I'm Adam Schiff. What do you think?"
Because as everyone knows, in the first 4 years of the Trump regime, the Democrats have done exactly. Oh, that's right, nothing.
Well, look, I mean, Trump's going to run a classic do-nothing Congress next year, and that's the problem. They have done nothing. Well, we investigated him, and you effed up Mueller, and you effed up impeachment, and everything Trump's done, he's not been able to do it for you except for the tax stuff. Well, he hadn't been able to do anything from you since you won the House back. You just you've done nothing. And you go to these purple districts where they won their majority, and you go to them and go, look, if you want another 2 years of these guys having to follow around Nancy Pelosi, hoping she doesn't stop suddenly so their nose doesn't ram up her colon, you vote for these losers again. If you want to get something done, I need Republicans. Because I'm not going to lose to Big Chief Warren. I'm not going to lose to Beto the Furry. I'm not going to lose to T-Bone's pal Corey. I'm not going to lose to Willie Brown's ex-girlfriend. You're going to have me, Donald Trump, for the next 4 years. Do you want something to happen, or do you want to, again, dance around the maypole in the festival of Odinism that is another Democrat Congress?
Let me ask you this. I definitely have some thoughts about this. I think Sanders is gone, medically, if for no other reason than that.
Yeah, he's out. He's gone. And he kind of always was. But fortunately, his loss will alienate a lot of the commies who will think it's all a big fix, which, of course, being the Democrats, it is.
It is. I think Biden is gone just because.
I think he's going.
Kamala Harris.
Have you heard him? He's got old man voice now. He looks terrible. I mean, he doesn't. He's crossed from distinguished into crank.
You know what he looks like?
Old-timey prospector?
No, who's the dude? Jeff, that has the ventriloquist, a great comedian, and he has the older dummy Walter. He looks. Joe Biden is Walter. Jeff Dunham. That's the comedian's name, and he's got the dummy named Walter. You hold up a picture of Joe Biden and Walter; they're the same dudes. Now, Kamala.
And the thing is, some guys get old with dignity, and at a certain point, you go, okay, I'm done with this part of my life. Now I'm the wise man you consult. He's like showing up at like the prom or the frat party with like the sweatshirt that says college on it, going, hey fellow kids, let's where is the keg? I am Kegmeister Joe.
Yeah.
We will party hearty.
Like
Who likes Kiss?
Elizabeth Warren drinking a beer. Hand me a beer. Kamala Harris
Could you hand me a beer, please? I would like a brewed malt beverage.
Yes. Kamala Harris.
As my people call it maize.
Yes. M-A-I-Z-E. Kamala Harris is about as inherently likable and warm as either Hillary Clinton or like
I shit things I like better than Kamala Harris.
Western diamondback rattlesnake. So I think it's going to be Elizabeth Pocahontas.
Yeah.
But people have dropped the boom saying, oh, you know what the thing is? The thing is that Hillary, when she sees that everyone isn't going to make it, and or that Pocahontas isn't going to pull real well, she's going to pull the curtain aside and step from the wings into center stage. Is that a load of crap?
What is the name of the person who voted for Trump last time, who will this time go, gosh, I sure hate the economy being like this and us not getting any new wars? I'm voting for Hillary. There literally is no such person.
And the stock market was almost near a record today, but that doesn't mean anything.
No, I think this is a screw top Chardonnay from Trader Joe's fueled fantasy of Hillary and her collection of sycophants. I mean, she could try it. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think there's anybody out there who really is, who we need? Hillary Clinton.
Well,
it just doesn't see. I mean, she'd get a lot of votes, but I don't think she'd get the ones she needs. They need to turn people who voted for Trump in places they voted for Trump around. The thing is, Trump has revitalized much of America where the elites don't go. Right? Case in point, the town of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. That's where my family's from. And we were out there this year, and we decided we would drive out there and see the Schlichter family home. Where we came from.
Nice.
We're going to spend a lot of time, but we're going to drive through it. And I had been there 10 years ago, and it was hellish. It was a dump. There were on my dad's street. This was a nice middle class neighborhood 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I'm driving down there 10 years ago, and it looks like dude on the corner want to hit, that kind. I mean, literally signs saying no loitering. The anti-gentrification. So I'm thinking we'll drive through really fast. I want the kids to see where it was. We go through. It's a nice little neighborhood again. We go through the downtown. No boarded up stores. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not Rodeo Drive, but it's prosperous and moving, and it's clean, and there aren't bums everywhere. And it looks like that, and there aren't people just standing around during the day, right? That's different. That's a change. And that change didn't come from Barack Obama. It came from, it had to come from Donald Trump revitalizing a lot of America where we're not looking. Is it perfect? No. Is it getting better? I think it is.
It's a work in progress.
And it was a surprise to me.
Can Donald Trump be a two-term president?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he's the odds-on favorite. Particularly if he's against Elizabeth Warren, who wants to spend 4 years listening to their first wife nag them.
Yeah. I'm Elizabeth Warren.
Who happens to be a freaking Indian.
Let's go geopolitical, because I think this is about the last topic area that we'll have time for. Your article in townhall.com says critics aghast as Trump keeps word about no more wars. You are, KURT Schlichter, you are flying in the face of D.C. and a lot of damn Republicans. I don't know how you have the gall to say something like that.
I know, right? Look, first of all, I still consider myself a hawk. I was a classic Republican. But I'm also somebody who lives outside of D.C., and I can learn. And the fact is, I was personally part of a couple of these adventures. I don't regret them or anything, but you have to look at the situation. I look at Afghanistan. There was a general shot there last year. A general, right? He's a friend of mine. I've known him for years. We come up together. I got out as a colonel. And so when one of your buddies gets shot, you're like, okay, now this reaffirms that it's personal. I know a lot of people who've been over there and got hurt, but and it's like he'll go over there with his guys and we'll do any mission we ask. He'll get shot. No complaints. I talked to him. He didn't have any complaints. He's like, I was doing my job. That's what I do. That's the point in my mind. Are we doing right by the guys who will do anything for us? And I don't know that 18 years in Afghanistan, or what are we at, 5 years now in northern Syria?
Yep. And we're talking about
objective. What's the objective?
You have to have a plan, an insertion plan, and an exfil plan. And if you don't, then what's the point of being there in the first place?
Well, look, and the thing is, there's always a good reason to go in. There's a good reason. There's good reason to go in Afghanistan. There's good reasons to stay in Afghanistan. Are they good enough to justify staying? You will never find a situation where, and I think Jesse Kelly is a friend of mine, said, look, after this, I don't know if we're ever getting out of Afghanistan after the hell of just pulling 50 guys out of northern Syria. How are we going to get out of Afghanistan with this kind of hell? There is an investment in the foreign policy establishment, and frankly, some in the military, for staying in these things. It's force of habit. There are guys in the military who are literally who have spent their entire career at war and they're a year from retirement. Can they even conceive of a time when we're not in Afghanistan? Because like I said, there are guys who's literally if you got in right after 9/11, you'll be able to retire next October.
If the Russians can learn about Afghanistan, I guess we can't.
Well, look, I mean, what's the objective? I went to war college. I guess I made a mistake because I paid attention.
Damn you.
Don't we have to have an objective? If your objective is, we've got to maintain stability, you have created a non-objective. You just create a perpetual reason because you can never achieve it.
It's a never-ending story.
It's just maintain stability. That is a recipe for literally, and I used to hate it when they say endless war. It was like these hippies or libertarians. Well, it's just endless war. It used to drive me up the wall. But, frankly, I'm becoming more at peace with it because the damn foreign policy establishment is doing nothing to show me that that's not what we're actually at.
Just about the last question, KURT SCHLICHTER, and it still floors the hell out of me. How is it, sir, that everybody that's a leftist, that is a leftist or a Democrat in D.C., they're now the hawks? How did that shit happen?
Well, they're faux hawks because I keep challenging them. I'm like, okay, if you think we should be at war, luckily we have a forum where it can be debated and voted on. We have Congress. Go to Congress and get on the record and debate it. I want to I want to pull out of Syria, but there are good reasons to stay. I have very good friends. I've deployed, at least one I deployed with, who say, KURT, I don't agree with you. Let's have an actual debate instead of guys virtue signaling on Twitter. Oh my gosh, you greenlit the invasion now. ISIS is coming back. Let's get out and have an actual debate rather than a tweet. I like tweeting. It's not a subject for a debate between our congressmen and senators. Let's do that instead of playing touch monkey with this impeachment garbage. Let's have a debate about declaring war. Do you want to fight the Turks? Now, I know the answer. You will not get a single Democrat who will vote for that. You will get them that say, well, he should have stopped the Turks, where, of course, the only way you can stop anybody is by stopping them. You can persuade them with diplomatic and economic means, which actually Trump is using. But if you want to stop somebody, you've got to put a bullet in his forehead.
It has to get physical at some point.
That's how you stop them. It's like if you're a police officer, you can tell a guy, put your hands up, bend over the car, put your hands behind your back, and if he does it, most of them do. But if he says, no, I'm running, and you yell, stop, 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 well, he might, but he might keep going. You got to go tackle him if you want him. Look, it's a matter of what you're willing to do. I should have moved those guys. Okay, what you're saying is then we're using them as tripwires, which is a recognized procedure in foreign policy. We do that in South Korea. But the implication is if you trip our wire, we're going to fight. If you're not willing to fight, it's not a very good bluff.
That's the point.
They're just called Trump's bluff. Trump wasn't bluffing because Trump said, I'm not going to fight you, so it's not a bluff. He folded, which is okay, unless you want to fight. If you're not willing to fight, don't get in a situation where you have to.
That's the exact... I couldn't have said it better myself, which is another reason that I have you on the show. Okay, so KURT SCHLICHTER, riddle me this. Your book is going to come out in, middle November, late November? Middle of November?
Middle of November. I definitely want it out before Black Friday. I'm probably going to finish the base this week and then edit.
Okay.
And then, get the cover squared away. Got a cool design, but I haven't. My artist who does all my covers, and yes, there will be a dog on the cover.
Nice.
We're excited about what he's working on. I will have Bill Kristol's quote about my books. He called them appalling. He says they're, what did he say? White nationalist, Civil War fan fiction.
Right.
My Latina immigrant wife was very upset to hear that I was a white nationalist.
What?
And confused. But no, look, a interview is not an interview with KURT SCHLICHTER unless I talk about that human sex stain, Bill Kristol,
right,
and his band of sexually defective weasels.
I have a one-word reply to that. Ahoy!
Ahoy.
Oh,
God, they just disgust me.
God,
it's so embarrassing. It's the indignity of how they suck up for the opportunity to sit at the kiddies' table and eat scraps from the establishment.
What? Donald Trump, I'm not important anymore? You're evil. You're bad. If you don't talk to me. Yeah, that's not...
Yeah. And it's all about the fact that no one returns their phone calls.
Oh, damn it.
But you know what? The president quotes me.
I hate that when that happens.
So who's the bitch, Bill?
Can I have you back after your book comes out, KURT?
Of course.
Okay. Great. So people say that my guests are always from the East Coast, and right now it'd be about midnight on the East Coast. And gosh, BZ, why don't you get more people from the West Coast? So thanks for being on the West Coast, except...
Anytime you want me, I
appreciate it.
Whenever you want to talk.
Okay. Well, I'll have you back. I'll have you back after your book comes out, and we'll talk about that. And by then, there will be so many more abrogations and crap that will have occurred that it's every day is a fresh new day. Every day is Groundhog Day. Every day is...
Really not, it's like Groundhog Day if every day was like super exciting.
Oh, yeah. It's like every day is a brand new batch of people exhibiting historical Alzheimer's. I love it.
Right, and the fun thing is we're living through history. We're going to,
yes.
And in like 20 years, we're going to look back and I'm going to be all like, God, man, it was always fun with Donald Trump. But now with President Rick Grinnell, everything's just steady and stable.
Yeah, amazing.
By the way, next time let's talk about who can follow Donald Trump. I have some ideas.
Oh, okay. All right. And when we come back, I wanted to get to California tonight, spelled with a K, but I didn't. But I'd like to address California crap as well, because there's so much to talk about there. KURT SCHLICHTER, God bless you. Thank you very much for being here tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me.
That was the incredible KURT SCHLICHTER. You got to buy his books. The newest is Wildfire. It's out right now. He's going to have one coming out in November. It was entitled Crisis, but no, don't think about that. It's now called Collapse. And when it comes out in November, we'll be talking again with KURT SCHLICHTER. We're going to go to a break and be right back. That was KURT SCHLICHTER. I am BZ, and you're listening to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Wow, what an interview. KURT SCHLICHTER never disappoints. And that's the great thing about him, is, I told him one time, and I recently wrote in chat here, I wrote, damn it, Jim, I was going to say this to him tonight, but I forgot. I was going to ask him, Kurt, I do have to ask you this one final question. I'm going to do it next time when he's on in November after his book comes out. I'm going to ask him this. I always wanted to, but I fail to remember. I don't remember to ask him this question. But like I said in chat, I want to know when you're going to come out of your shell and tell us what it is that you really think. Because you're hedging, dude. You're holding stuff back. And I wish you'd just come out and tell us what you really think and what you really feel. Mike, welcome. You have some things to say, do you, sir?
Yes. I'm looking at San Fran Man, and by her saying what she's saying about not holding the vote right now, right, the impeachment vote right now,
right,
and you guys addressed that in the last hour, she's kind of being logical about it. In any other given situation, this would be a logical way of thinking because, one, she doesn't want to lose power in the House, and if she does it now, there's more than an 80% chance that she's going to lose power and lose the House if she does it now, whereas if she waits to do it late after the election, there's a possibility, in her mind, there's a possibility that not only does she get Mitt Romney to come along with the people in the Senate to hold a trial, but maybe a few other Republicans as well. So that's her logic. Now, we know that the radicals in her party don't think logically like that. We know that. They want it now. It's like that insurance. It's like that money commercial. It's my money and I want it now. It's my impeachment and I want it now.
Well, Al Green from Texas, he feels that way. He's felt that way all along. One of the first things chirped out of Al Green's mouth from Texas was, well, and thank God he spoke the truth. Wait a minute, speaking the truth. BZ, do it. Okay, here we go. Don't I have this? Oh, all right, I was in the wrong thing. Yeah, I do have this. Al Green came out and told us the truth. Damn it. And that's, again, every time I see stuff like this, it's like I always thank God that the internet is here. But he finally told us the truth about impeachment.
The redacted Mueller report found that 66%
and the real purpose
should not start
of
impeachment proceedings. And there's a sharp partisan divide, as we all know, with only 4% of Republicans favoring impeachment. Congressman, are you concerned that impeachment talk may actually help the president's reelection?
Say the truth.
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected. If we don't impeach him, he will say,
wait,
impeach this president, he will get reelected. If we don't...
So is that the truth? It seems to me... Yeah, it is. He actually spoke the truth. Damn him for saying that.
No, you're right, but then again, that feeds into my point about thinking logically and political logic. And the political logic here lies with Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, the radicals, including Al Green in that party, want impeachment and they want it now. And he's right in saying that without it, Trump walks in, because he basically sees what we see, that there's nobody in that list, in that gaggle of idiots that we've seen in these debates that can beat Trump.
Okay, so Mike, let me see if I have you straight. And that is, well, Alaskan in chat says basically she just doesn't have the vote. Okay, and I agree with that, and I think that's how you accurately translate Nancy Pelosi today, this week. But are you saying, Mike, that this is actually a matter of timing? She just doesn't suss out that the timing is good now, or perhaps she hasn't laid enough wood at the backsides of the people in her caucus. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's it. The timing right now. Yeah, we've got people like AOC and the squad.
Oh, those are
that
given.
are on fire for this stuff. But there's not enough of those type people right now in that party. Yeah, you've got a handful, and defining a handful, maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 maybe, but that's still not enough. That's not enough to get it done.
Okay, so here's what I would do if I was Nancy Pelosi. I know that in terms of time, I have from now until things are going to get really heated in, I'd say, June next year. And by that time, I'm guessing that the Democrat, well, hell, it may be by December, it may be by November that we have an idea of which central Democrat is going to be running against Donald Trump. I can't help but think somewhere in the wings, I'm not exactly in the Jack Alexander camp where he believes that Hillary is going to waltz on stage from the side curtains and take all the huzzas and vacuum up all the votes in the room. I'm taking a wait and see policy on that, but in terms of impeachment, I can understand that people have said, oh, if you have the votes, do it and do it now. Tom McClintock threw the gauntlet down about a month and a half ago, saying, if you're all about the impeachment, take it, do it now. I double dog secret probation dare you to do that right now, and then nothing happened. So my guess is she's going to wait to see, and this, you have to admit, this can only work to her benefit because this is such a dynamic atmosphere. I've never seen politics this upside down. I've never seen kabuki theater like this. I've never been witness to theater of the absurd like this on a continuous day by day, week by week. You know, between now and the opening of KURT Schlichter's book, you and I and everyone listening live in the chat room, in podcast, we all know that there will be 17 things that will have occurred between now and next week that the Democrats are going to use to try to absolutely puncture and light Donald Trump's hair on fire. Would it be accurate to say that she's waiting to see if anything besmirches him? He is the Teflon Don. Yeah, he's OMB, but he's also Teflon. He really is like trying to nail Jell-O to a tree. You can't do it. And if you try, you're going to be frustrated. So I think do you think she's holding out, Mike? Hope that something maybe that she doesn't see right now, but somehow emerges from the mist, will be the arrow that hits him right in the eye socket.
And she knows is not these two whistleblowers, so-called whistleblowers.
No. This crap is done.
That crap is done. Yeah,
the
right.
only thing
you mentioned 2024. In any other given year, if things are going this swimmingly with the economy and stuff, and things are happening other than that, and the president's doing good on the foreign policy front, like the president is, then that vice president would likely. We saw it with George H.W. Bush. You know, we saw it with Harry S. Truman. You know, those guys basically walked into the White House on the shoulders of FDR and Reagan in any other given time. Now, will Pence be able to do that in 2024? We got to see.
You've made some very interesting points tonight. I think one of the biggest thing, it's not just Nancy, but I think one of the biggest things that the Democrats are hoping is that there is something in the offing, something in the future over the horizon that they have not yet been able to grab a hold of, that their visage has not yet conjured in terms of the economy. And between now and election time, September, October, right around in there, that's when something of massive criticality needs to occur to set this boy on fire. I think they're just hoping that, what else do they have except to hope that the entire United States of America goes down in smoke and that you almost perish along with it? Is that a strategy? It's the strategy of the Democrats. They hope your lives get fucked up. But not so screwed up.
Starts to look like the California economy.
Yeah, and it looks like downtown Mogadishu. Beautiful downtown Mogadishu.
Yeah, really. I mean, yeah, that's what they're hoping. It's like Rush would say. Everything good for America is bad for the Democrats. Everything bad for America is good for the Democrats.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right.
Wow. Okay. Folks, anybody wants to call, you can. 209-284-3210. 209-284-3210. God, I haven't been pushing my show very much. If you want to go to the chat room, yes, we're on video right now. Live feed on SHR Media Facebook and a live feed on the SHR Media YouTube channel. So you can watch there, and you can see the number for the phone. It says phone lines are open, 209-284-3210. But if you are thinking about being in the chat room on Facebook or YouTube, I beseech thee, come on over to the chat room at shrmedia.com. That's where all the folks are right now. Thanks again to Wendy Simone, Right-Wing Aviator, Jack Alexander, Mike, who was just on the phone, the Alaskan, and Traveling Cynic. Thank you all for being here. My guess is KURT SCHLICHTER, not my glossy personality, was the draw for tonight. But I'll tell you what, anything like that, I just consider a big damn win. I'll put that in the W column. Speaking of win, here's a KURT SCHLICHTER article that I was going to reference to KURT, but of course, as with everything, damn it, I run out of time. KURT wrote this yesterday. It's, "The elite hates the Trump doctrine because it puts America first. What are betters? Those same smug geniuses who brought us Iraq, let NATO deadbeats string us along, and who let Mexico and China exploit us, truly hate is the fact that the American people stood up in 2016 and demanded that our foreign policy stop sucking. Americans are sick of always getting handed the bill for some lame ruling caste priority, whether it's paying for the privilege of defending Europe on behalf of ungrateful continentals, or funding the weird climate religion, or letting China get rich off of gutting our industries. Mostly we're sick of shipping our magnificent warriors off to die in ill-conceived, poorly planned, ineptly executed wars where we ended up shielding our boys' and girls' blood-refereeing fights that go back a dozen centuries." Night, Mike. "The coastal elite gets to bask in the radiance of its own moral superiority for deploying young people in camo from Nebraska towns and Texas towns, and we get to hold the funerals. Hard pass," KURT SCHLICHTER writes. "We're done being suckers. We're done being at the back of a line that consists of the entire world when it comes to who our master caste protects. And we're done with the elite cashing in. Have you noticed that all the outrage out there among the hoi polloi is directed not at the manifest corruption itself, but at Donald Trump for calling out the manifest corruption of noted Bolivia-phile Hoover McPaternity Biden?" That's not easy to say. And it's not easy to say cold reading this. "America First is a common-sense response to decades of America Last. It's a repudiation of those who get elected by Americans to protect and promote American interests, yet think of themselves as global citizens. The elite scoffs at the notion of a Trump doctrine, imagining that no one but them could construct a coherent geopolitical paradigm. Of course, their neo-Wilsonian faculty lounge geopolitical paradigm has been a disaster, but if there's one thing our garbage elite is good at, it's certainly no good at its core responsibilities of preserving American power, prosperity, and freedom. It is weaseling out of accountability for its myriad failures. Yet, the Trump doctrine, the notion that American power should be directed towards serving the interests of the American people, is a coherent foreign policy vision of the kind we have not had in the United States for decades. For the last 35 years, since the Reagan doctrine of using American power to bring down the Soviet Union, we have had no coherent framework within which we could develop sensible national strategies. The Cold War ended, and we sort of implemented a mishmash of strategies, but without a clear objective to aim them at, like the Reagan and Trump doctrines offer. One strategy was to try to turn nations toward global mega-corporate capitalism. But the purpose of that was what? How was it helpful to America when we subsidized international development through bad trade deals that wrecked our manufacturing base and traumatized our working class? Sure, it was helpful to the pocketbooks of the globalist elite's U.S. franchise, but if you want to see the true cost, walk through the opioid-scarred, despairing ruins in the Midwest that are only now, under Trump, stirring back to life. KURT Schlichter talked about this in the first hour. And then KURT Schlichter writes, and then there was the strategy of encouraging freedom. The Bush doctrine was less a doctrine than a subordinate strategy. As if the denizens of these backwaters were yearning for Jeffersonian democracy rather than a chance for their own tribe to take charge and get their shot at some prime pillaging. Okay, that deserves abso-fucking-lutely. What this turned out to entail was us deploying, then going beyond killing the people who needed killing and sticking around afterwards to try to turn populations of third-world psychos into Lil Norman Rockwell subjects. Sometimes it worked out okay. Kosovo went fine, though we'd been there 20 years. Sometimes it went disastrously. Iraq's free in the same way that Brian Stelter is ripped. That's a good line. And sometimes it just went on. And how many decades have we been in Afghanistan again? Just like KURT Schlichter asked the first hour. In the hands of our loser elite, now the term democracy is to American foreign policy as the term fetch is to mean girls. I watched Secretary of State Mike Pompeo articulate the Trump doctrine at this year's Claremont Institute dinner with the kind of depth and clarity our useless foreign policy elite can only dream of. By the way, you know that the right is embracing conservative wokeness when the loaded donor class boos as pictures of George Will and Paul Ryan flash on screen. He was remarkable and worth watching. In the hands of Secretary Pompeo and other believers, as opposed to the deep state mules in the foreign policy bureaucracy, the Trump doctrine means an ongoing reordering of our foreign relations priority towards the only proper priority, American interests. You see that when Donald Trump wields U.S. economic power by imposing tariffs, summon the smelling salts, on China to finally force it into an equal relationship with the United States, this horrifies those who are quite willing to put up with the PRC's trade malfeasance because it lines their pockets, or because taking the side of U.S. workers is just too hard, or because zombie Milton Friedman would be sad. How sad. You see it when Ambassador to Germany, Rick Grenell, spins the Euro weenies into a tizzy by demanding that they stroke checks for their fair share of the NATO bill. Got a story about that when I come back after the break. My favorite elite talking point is always how demanding members pay the dough they owe to defend against Russia helps Putin because, reasons. And you also see it when Grinnell drops the figurative Adam Schiff in the party punch bowl and demands the Krauts and the Frogs and all the rest stop playing business as usual footsie with the mullahs in Tehran. But mostly you see it when the president avoids new wars no matter how hard the smart set demands he create his own quagmire. Iran has been ham-handedly trying to provoke a fight by poking our allies. Trump won't bite. He sees the trap. And in Syria, he's keeping his promise to leave. There's always a good reason for going into these conflicts. ISIS is bad, of course, and there's always a good reason to stay. Many Kurds are fine people. But there are better reasons to pack up and leave. The phrase endless war used to be irritating, except then it became clear that's exactly what many foreign policy experts are advocating. If your exit criteria for closing out some overseas adventure is, we can leave when things are stable, in a place where there hasn't been stability in 5,000 years, you are, in fact, advocating for endless war. Getting out of wars requires getting out of wars, and sometimes it's going to be ugly. But unless you can explain to the family of a dead soldier why it's worth it to stay, it's not worth it to stay. The American people, at least those who aren't in D.C. or the media, understand that every problem around the world is not our problem. If you're one of those citizens of the world, then feel free to enlist in the army of the world. Just count us out of your bloody altruism. It's particularly galling to see people you know would screech if Trump used force, like against NATO ally Turkey, screeching because he won't. President Trump ought to throw his back to their pouty faces and tell them that if the members of the House and Senate are so eager for war, they should avail themselves of the Constitution's War Powers Clause at Article 1, Section B, Clause 11, and declare one. Let them sign on the line that is dotted if they're so psyched up to rumble in who cares it stand. But they won't. Our representatives know full well that the people back home voting next November don't think like the smarmy suits from McLean and Foggy Bottom these elected officials mingle over with cocktails in Georgetown. The American people have had enough of stupid trade deals, of stupid border shenanigans, and of stupid wars. The Trump doctrine is really just a fancy name for the common sense view that America's leaders should use American power to advance the interests of Americans. And that's why the elite hates it. When we come back, you're going to hear from the lips of fools how CNN happens to think that, oh yeah, you're a fool.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Essentially, we're back. I'm back. He, she, or it is back. You know what? I almost said my pronouns are he, him, and whatever the hell you're supposed to say for the third one. I'm a he, I'm a him. There are only two genders, male and female. Everything else is unmitigated. That's right. You heard it here first. Unmitigated bullshit. CNN just got skewered by Project Veritas. Now, some people are saying that this wasn't much of a skewering. I'll let you be the judge of that. Oh, God, I forgot. God, there's so much stuff I could have talked to him about. I wanted to talk to Kurt about poor little Shepard Smith going away. I know why he went away. And it wasn't because he was tired of being at Fox. Dude was raking in $15 million a year. So it's not like, yeah, I've had it. My job is so tough. I need to leave. No, that wasn't it. In any event, we always knew about the massive political bias of CNN. But I still have to say, I love it when James O'Keefe or somebody else goes in on behalf of Project Veritas and pulls back the mask on all the stuff that essentially you knew was there in the first place. So for those who were already convinced that CNN is a piece of crap, and it should, it's the 24/7 Trump impeachment channel, or what I call TIC. CNN is now TIC, the Trump impeachment channel. Project Veritas happened to release this video. It's a fair amount, but I want you to listen to it because there are some explanations in here as well. And if you haven't heard it, you really, really should. Before I play this, by the way, I have not, and I hope that somebody in chat will be able to tell me, who came out tonight on Tuesday's debate with the Democrats looking halfway decent? Didn't watch it, didn't record it, so I absolutely have no idea. While this is playing, let me know, because I'm kind of curious if anybody came out looking less doltish than the other. This is part one of the CNN Insider blows a whistle on the network President Jeff Zucker and his personal vendetta against the President of the United States. CNN, now officially the impeachment channel.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, let's start with Washington, please. I don't care about the other stuff.
This is Zucker.
My name is Kerry Porch. I'm a satellite uplink technician. I'm a contractor at the CNN Washington, D.C. Bureau.
But Jeff Zucker, basically president of CNN, has a personal vendetta against Trump. It's not going to be positive for Trump. He hates him. He's going to be negative.
This is Nick
I decided
Neville.
to wear a hidden camera.
The media created this monster.
The media created
He's created this monster. And I'm giving him full plate every single day. The media created the Trump monster.
I decided to secretly record the 9 a.m. rundown call meetings, and it's basically run by Jeff Zucker, the president of CNN.
We're moving towards impeachment. I mean, don't,
This is Zucker.
we shouldn't pretend, this is going one way, and so all these moves are moves towards impeachment.
When I came to work at CNN, I mean, it was my dream job, and that dream actually just turned into a nightmare.
So I just want to say on the Lindsey Graham front, I know that there's a lot of people at CNN that are friendly with Lindsey Graham. Time to knock that off, and it's time to call him out.
That's right. Lindsey Graham is no longer a friend.
And now is really fundamentally the result of years of fake news, conspiracy, nonsense from Fox News.
He was calling Fox News fake news and a propaganda machine, and with what I saw, I'm like, that's pretty much what CNN was. Like, it's just pumping out propaganda.
The fake conspiracy nonsense that Fox has spread for years is now deeply embedded in American society, and frankly, that is destructive to America, and I do not think we should be scared to say so.
I just want them to own where they're at. Like, hey, if we lean left, cool. Let's just say we lean left. If we lean right, let it be known.
Yes.
But again, it just dovetails back to that thing. I just want people to have the information to make up their own minds.
He's known Trump for a long time.
That's funny. Isn't that what Fox is about?
And hates his guts.
Impeachment is the story. I know we're going to feel a tendency to think we're doing too much, but it's the story.
Right? There is no such thing as proportion at CNN.
Let's start the anti-Trump crusade.
Man, what was it like the morning after this past election?
But that day, just at 6 a.m. in the morning when I came in, the mood was just so sourpuss the whole day.
By the way, this guy points out that he has hundreds of hours recording CNN as an insider. So something tells me, as my college professor used to say before you began writing in your blue book, something similar to, you may see this material again.
It was a dreary day. I bet at Fox it was like euphoria.
CNN likes to call itself the most trusted name in news, but that's not the story we heard from a CNN insider who blew the whistle, recorded everything, and came to Project Veritas earlier this year. Would it be fair to say that you being here today it's not politically motivated?
That's correct. It's not politics that motivates me. It's basically me wanting the news to be what they used to be, news, and not a info.
By the way, you may not, but I'll put this out here just in case. If you have any tips for Project Veritas, you can send them an email. Veritas Tips, all one word, Veritas, Veritas, tips, TIPS, at protonmail, PROTON, protonmail.com. Veritas Tips at protonmail.com.
Entertainment or a game show or chasing the ratings, like CNN purports it to be facts first, and that's clearly not the case.
Kerry Porch has worked for CNN for 2 years. He says when he started, he had high hopes for the job, but he quickly became disillusioned as he was exposed to rampant anti-Trump bias at the network.
I noticed after, again, this is fairly rapidly after I started, within the first 3 to 6 months, that there was a strong groupthink that permeated through the halls, and that everyone was on board the, I hate Trump train, or I want to, basically go after anyone, on the center or on the right politically.
Porch secretly recorded several of CNN's 9 a.m. morning editorial calls where CNN's President Jeff Zucker leads the anti-Trump charge.
We're moving towards impeachment. I mean, don't, we shouldn't pretend, this is going one way, and so all these moves are moves towards impeachment. So don't lose sight of what the big story is.
They're done every day, Monday through Friday, and it's basically run by Jeff Zucker, the president of...
So what he says, don't be afraid if it's 24/7 the impeachment channel, because I'm telling you, Jeff, as Jeff Zucker, the owner of CNN, I'm telling you what the story is. You blockheads, it's 24/7 the impeachment channel.
CNN from the New York Bureau, and he would basically... he runs it with an iron fist, and it's actually respectable. It's like listening to him run his business. It's kind of fascinating. But hearing that from the strongest and most prominent voice, the number one is on every day just hammering Trump in some way, shape, or form, or Republicans in general, about, all these other stories might be happening, but we want to divert all our resources to this aspect of Trump or that aspect of Trump, or most recently, it's just all about impeachment, 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 impeachment.
On the calls are the top leadership of the network: Zucker, CNN's president; Virginia Mosley, CNN's senior vice president of news gathering.
There's a second whistleblower, and that this now fortifies the complaint.
And David Chalian, vice president and CNN political director.
I think as big of a story as what President Trump has done here is the Republicans sort of either delusional or defiant or silent responses. I think it's as big a story in what is going on.
Okay, let's just stop this right now. If you want to watch and listen to the whole video, because I'm losing time here, it's 9:46 on the left coast, which means it's 12:46 on the far right coast. You can watch this later. I'm sure you can. There are lots of ways in which you can do it, and quite frankly, YouTube, I believe, is the one that I would highly recommend. There have been some stories that have emerged tonight. I'll go into some happy stories. They're kind of some older happy stories, but there are two breaking stories that I wanted to break with KURT SCHLICHTER, but damn it, I just didn't have the time to. And one of them was. This just came out today from the Washington Examiner. My good friend Susan Katz-Keating now works as a writer and editor at the Washington Examiner. This just came out today. This came out in 2016, but people forgot about it. Emails show Clinton denied, then in fact met with a Ukrainian donor. So doesn't this tend to prove all the things that I and others have been saying all along, which is whatever it is that the Democrats are accusing Donald Trump of, and people in his sphere, they themselves are guilty of. Then there was this story. I really wanted to talk to KURT SCHLICHTER about this because this is a breaking Fox story. The headline is, Turkey is holding 50 U.S. nuclear bombs hostage at an airbase, report says. And, okay, that got my attention. Officials are reviewing plans to evacuate up to 50 U.S. nuclear bombs that have long been stored at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey in the wake of Ankara's military offensive in northern Syria, according to a report. The weapons are now essentially hostage to Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a senior official told the New York Times on Monday. Stop. Okay, an interesting story. How are they hostage? It doesn't explain with sufficient clarity to me. If anybody has any insight on this, call or just write in chat, because I'm clearly missing something. The Cold War-era B-61 nuclear bombs are said to be 100 to 250 miles from the Syrian border, according to The Guardian. That's a British newspaper. I'm sorry, massive British leftist newspaper. Sorry, I should have clarified. A former U.S. official told the outlet that Turkish diplomats responded to suggestions about moving the bombs by saying Turkey would start to develop its own. The potential problems have been discussed for over a decade, the former official said, and now we've finally gotten to the point where this is a problem that we cannot ignore anymore. Erdogan has previously expressed a desire to boost Turkey's nuclear arsenal. Some nations have missiles with nuclear warheads. Not just one or two, but they say I should not have missiles with nuclear warheads. I do not accept this, Erdogan said last month, according to the state-run Anadolu agency. President Trump announced on October 6th the U.S. would pull all troops from northeast Syria, clearing the way for a Turkish air and ground incursion. Erdogan's troops launched an assault on Wednesday, and ground troops invaded later that day. The Pentagon said last Friday that is, that U.S. troops near the border town of Kobane in northern Syria came under artillery fire from Turkish positions. No American troops were injured. In an interview with Fox News, a senior advisor to Erdogan denied that Turkey had fired at U.S. troops. This will be a story in flux. I still do not, I somehow fail to grok the concept that we have an insufficient number of aircraft to move those B-61 bombs out of Turkey should we decide to, or if we suss out that they are somehow in a form of jeopardy, whether it's literally being taken hostage or an invasion of the base, whatever, something of that nature. That's a pretty damn serious story. But now I'd like to move over, because I haven't done this for so long, I'd like to move over to this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story, because George Soros, anytime that George Soros is boo-hooing, I'm a happy kind of guy. This is from newspunch.com. George Soros, Trump is destroying the world. This is just from about a month ago. George Soros is alarmed and frustrated at the speed in which President Trump is dismantling the world as he knows it. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to this. George Soros is alarmed and frustrated at the speed in which President Trump is dismantling the world as he knows it. And if I had a producer, what you would have heard is... But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you heard. Speaking exclusively to the Washington Post, the billionaire globalist admits he regrets not foreseeing Trump's meteoric rise to power. Fearful that Trump is willing to destroy the world, Soros has vowed to redouble his efforts in pouring millions of dollars into opposing everything Trump stands for. So George Soros is gobsmacked that this is happening. Here's another happy story. The UN sounds the alarm on the cash crisis, warning that it may default on bills by month's end. Oh no, the United Nations is facing the worst cash crisis it's ever seen, in nearly a decade at least, and is warning that it may be unable to pay its bills by the end of the month, while urging member states to pay their contributions to the world body immediately. Why would this be of import? Oh, that's right. Because the United States has said, we're not shoring up the United Nations anymore, and if you don't donate, member nations, I guess we're not donating anymore. Imagine that. Secretary General Antonio Guterres wrote to member states this week saying that as of the end of September, they have only paid 70% of budget contributions compared with 78% at this time last year. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a happy story. Here's another happy story. This happens to be from Fox Business News. China buys 600,000 tons of U.S. soybeans after trade talks. Are they starting to see things maybe our way a little bit? Chinese importers purchased roughly 600,000 tons of U.S. soybeans after deputy-level trade discussions between the U.S. and China last week. I don't know, that kind of sounds like a happy story to me. Here's another happy story. This happens to be from Breitbart. More than 2.5 million households drop off food stamps under Trump. That seems to be quite an accomplishment because Obama was the what? Come on, say it. Say it with me. the food stamp president. And he was proud. He was proud to be the food stamp president from Breitbart. More than 2.5 million households dropped off food stamps since President Trump's first full month in office, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA data. The most recent USA data shows that 2,543,924 households stopped receiving Supplementary Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, benefits, the program in charge of food stamps, between the end of Trump's first full month in July and July of 2019. As of July 2019, the most current data available, 18 million households and 36 million individuals have participated in the nation's food stamp program. I don't know. Call me crazy, call me wacky, but that kind of sounds like a positive thing to me. And then here's evidence, if you doubted, that Trump enjoys law enforcement. Here's Trump meeting with the various sheriffs at the White House.
And the burden it places on our citizens, families, neighborhoods, and our nation. America's sheriffs and the ancient families of America salute you.
The sheriffs are handing a declaration supporting President Trump to President Trump himself right in front of the White House. I'd say that's a happy story, if you ask me. Here's another one. Homeowner, this is from, WSB TV in Atlanta. Here's a homeowner shoots and kills 3 teens wearing masks. One had a gun, police say. That is a definite happy story. In Rockdale County, Georgia, the Rockdale County Sheriff's Department is investigating a deadly triple shooting. Monday morning, deputies said a homeowner shot 3 teens who were wearing masks. Channel 2's Aaron Diamant learned 2 of the teens were brothers, 15 and 16 years old. A third was a 15-year-old boy. The shooting happened around 4 a.m. at the house of White Oak Court in Conyers. One of the boys died at the scene. The other 2 later died at the hospital. Investigators said one of the teens pulled out a gun and fired at the neighbors before the homeowner returned fire. Yes, there is, in fact, a price for being stupid. And occasionally, there's no turning back from something like that. Here's a story from Real Clear Politics. Why Trump Will Win. The Evidence of Things Unseen. The New Testament tells us that faith is the evidence of things unseen. If that's true in politics, the faith of Trump supporters that he will be reelected is based on what was unseen and unheard on the Democrat stages in Houston on Thursday, namely the thriving economy and the many other accomplishments of this administration. And you will notice that all of these things and aspects are completely unmentioned when dealing with each other, that is to say, Democrats, on any kind of a debate stage. Here's another story. This is another happy story. From the Gateway Pundit, this is a report. Over 1 million households have risen to middle class under Trump, according to census data. The Democrats spent 8 years under Obama paying lip service to the middle class while he was doing next to nothing. Trump is, in fact, getting the job done. This is a story that reports over 1 million households climbed to middle class. More than 1.2 million American households moved to above $50,000 in annual income between 2016 and 2018, according to Census Bureau data released on September 10th, a sign of a growing middle class. That's another happy story, as far as I'm concerned. Here's another happy story from the Daily Signal. Black Americans are doing great under Trump. The August jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed more great news for all Americans, and particularly for Black Americans. The nation's unemployment rate of 3.7% put it near the lowest ever in the last half century. Black unemployment is at an all-time low at 5.5%. Also at an all-time low is the gap between black and white unemployment, with white unemployment at 3.4%. The gap is 2.1 percentage points. Put in other terms, black unemployment stood 62% higher than white unemployment. A few years ago, the Pew Research Center looked at BLS unemployment data back to 1954, the first year the data was broken down by race. From 1954 to 2013, white unemployment averaged 5% and black unemployment averaged 9.9%. So the takeaway is, yeah, black Americans are doing great under President Trump. Will you hear that? Oh, come on. You know the answer to that.
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and also on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour.
To the folks that I know.
Thanks so kindly in the first hour to KURT SCHLICHTER. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to everybody for being in chat. And thanks to everybody listening in podcast. Thanks to the American Trucker for listening to my show. Live and in podcast, you make America move. Tomorrow night, I've heard allegations and rumors to the effect that there may be a Sackheads Against Tyranny show. I'll put out the promo media if there is. I'm pretty sure I'll be back on Thursday. God bless everybody. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night and good luck.